Let's do it.
I'd like to be at 90 to 95 amps for this joint, but I had to set it to 87 to keep from popping breakers. I am running off the wall 115 volt power. That's the pigtail adapter. I'm really trying to just see what this welder will do. When I set it on 90 amps, I popped a breaker before I was completely finished with the rod. So I backed it off just a little bit, and I was able to run as often as I wanted to and as much as I wanted to without popping a breaker. It may not look like I'm doing any manipulation at all, but in my mind I'm doing just some really tiny movements. Just a really tiny series of ocean waves or U's or something like that. Just a slight motion to help that bead flatten out a little bit. I'm holding as tight of an arc as I dare. If I ram it in there with this machine, it will stick. So I can't hold a super tight arc like you can with some other machines. But it's running okay. These are 332 Hobart 7018s, fresh out of the pack, but not kept in a rod oven or not warmed up or anything like that. I went ahead and stopped before I got to the end because I didn't think I had quite enough rod to make it all the way. But no big deal, just have to do a restart. Practicing multiple restarts is something that pays off big time in the long run. The better you can get at making restarts that are smooth and pretty much defect free, the better off you'll be. You can check on this video page and I'll link up several videos showing restart techniques. Notice I'm propping with my thumb here to steady up so that I don't leave an arc mark outside the weld area. That's a good habit to get into. Now the rod is going to start to get hot, so what I will usually do is just to start letting off pressure of my thumb to avoid the heat. In this case, I've only got just a few inches to weld, so the rod's not going to have an opportunity to get very hot. But I'll still use really light pressure, and I'll scoot it down right here toward the end, just whatever it takes. These Hobart rods are doing a pretty good job. I'm not getting any slag peelers here, but it's coming off fairly easily. The slag, that is.
All right, that's the first pass. I'm going to stop after every pass and talk a little bit about some fundamentals for stick welding using the acronym CLAMS: current, length of arc, angles, manipulation, and speed of travel. Let's make that C stand for current and cleaning. So the current, under current, you got amperage, you got polarity, but you could also include things like hot start and dig or arc control function. This machine I'm using today does not have the arc control or the dig. Arc control, also known as dig, it's a feature that senses the arc length. Your voltage drops when your arc length gets tighter. It senses that voltage drop and it bumps your amperage up a little bit to help you keep from sticking the rod. Hot start is another feature that just gives you more amperage for a second or so, depending on how the machine is configured, so that you can make a good restart and it drops right back down to your main running amperage. So you don't have to have the machine set quite as hot, and you still benefit from the good hot restart. You can make better restarts without sticking the rod, usually. If you're a student, I would advise you to play with these things, and I would definitely advise you to weld without them sometimes too, because you don't know if you're going to have them outside of the welding booth. All right, cleaning for stick welding. We all know stick welding will chew through mill scale and everything, but certain codes still require cleaning mill scale, especially for a welding test. If you're taking a welding test, act accordingly. Do what's required.
One of the things you always want to do with overhead is make sure your stinger, your whip, is not under your foot or under the leg of a stool or anything like that. Make sure you can make your travel without getting hung up. It's usually pretty easy to flick the arc on the corner of a T-joint like this to get the arc started, but with this machine, it's just a little harder than it should be. It just doesn't have that open circuit voltage to just make that arc jump off the tip of that electrode. Once you get it going, it's fine. Here's an important tip, is how you stack that first bead in there. You don't want to stack it halfway over the root pass. You want to overlap it by 2/3 or more. If you don't overlap it by about 2/3, oftentimes you wind up with an uneven leg toward the bottom or a valley in the middle. I'm probably overlapping a little bit more than 2/3 here, but we'll see how it works out. I'm also using a slight manipulation of the electrode just to kind of help the bead flatten out a little bit to prevent a crowned up bead. You won't always have something to prop on, like you can see me propping here with my other hand, but this is working for me. I don't have a certain way of propping, but if I have something to prop on, I will use it. I've just got some makeshift pieces of scrap holding this thing up in the air, and you can see that piece wiggling all over the place. I don't recommend that. It's working for me for shooting a video, but it's kind of aggravating.
Well, all right, let's talk about length of arc for a minute. This machine is primarily a TIG welder that I'm using today. It does stick weld. It runs a 7018 fine. It runs a 1/8 better. I had some trouble here lighting up and not sticking right away. So I had to kind of long arc it for a minute every time I'd light up, keep from sticking the rod. And I had to run 87 amps, and I'd prefer to be around 92, 95 for this brand rod I'm using, which is a Hobart rod. And I just like to keep a real tight arc, and that a good hot bead will just go in there really well. I would pop a breaker when I was in that range before I'd finish the rod, so I cut it down to 87. These are things you have to do sometimes in the field. If you've only got so much power, you don't want to be running back and forth to the breaker every rod. I used to tell people when it came to length of arc, when it came to overhead welding especially, I was always saying, the best advice I could give somebody was like, set that amperage hot enough to where the rod won't stick when you hold a tight arc, and then hold a tight arc. That's a little bit oversimplified because of these things like dig and arc hot start. But it's still good advice for most older machines, transformer machines, and even this machine I'm using today. I'd like to be a little hotter. I just know I'll pop a breaker when I'm halfway through the rod. All right, let's get back to welding.
For this next bead, I'll still be using a slight manipulation. This bead will tend to go a little bit slower than the previous bead because I'm filling in a little groove there. I'm going to try to overlap the previous bead by just about half the whole way down. I'm keeping a real close eye on the top toe of that bead and going just slow enough not to leave any undercut. That's what I'm trying to do anyway. In just a second, you're going to see me bobble a little bit, and I think what happened is I did get hung up a little bit with the whip of the cable. I've still got a whole layer of 3 more beads to go, but I don't want to intentionally have any undercut here. Right around here, watch this, whoops. But I kind of tried to real quickly back up and fill that in. It didn't look like it was going to leave more than a 64th or so of undercut, if it does leave any, but I think it'll be fine. Let's take a really quick look at what we've got so far. I thought that was going to pop off there a little bit easier than it is. I should probably get a chipping hammer for this. I'm honestly not cleaning this as thoroughly as I should probably. I'm not power brushing it or anything like that, but it's just a practice joint for instruction.
There's angle in the direction of travel, so a drag, a 90 degree or a slight push. And there's also the angle that you hold the rod going into the joint. Fortunately, angles are very forgiving if your arc length is tight enough and your heat's good. I thought I was using a slight drag angle, and under the camera, I learned a lot of times I was straight in or even a slight push. Just goes to show you there's forgiveness. There's a lot of leeway when it comes to rod angle. Let's get back to welding.
Okay, for this next bead, let's make doggone sure we're not going to hang up on anything. I've got the cable wrapped around my wrist. I'm holding some slack with the other hand. Hopefully this one will go good. Here's what I'm talking about. I thought I had a good bit of drag angle, a good 10 degrees or so, and that looks pretty straight in right there. In fact, at times, I noticed a slight push, but it still went in okay. From this angle, it looks like maybe there's a slight drag. Okay, on this bead, as far as bead placement goes, I'm kind of lining up the top toe of the weld with the bottom of the top previous bead. That's my hash mark for this weld. You always kind of need to, when you light up, spot some hash marks and keep yourself going as straight as possible. And that's my hash mark here. I'm kind of, you can see I'm manipulating the electrode just a little. And each time I come up, I'm trying to make that top of that bead line up with the bottom of the top bead that I just laid down. I'm in my garage shop here, so I have got the garage door open to let the smoke out. So that's the reason for the difference in lighting occasionally. It plays with the camera when you got light coming in from a door like that. We've got 2 more beads to go. I think we're in pretty good shape to have a fairly even leg fillet weld.
Manipulation is another thing. A lot of times you can help yourself by doing a slight manipulation. Helps the bead kind of flatten out, especially on overhead, especially when you're limited on amperage like I am. Like on the root pass here, I wouldn't have probably done any manipulation if I could run 90 or 95 amps. But 87, I'm doing a little wiggle. There are welding tests and welding procedures that pretty much prohibit any weave or any manipulation. So follow the procedure. If you're free to do it and it helps, then by all means, do a little manipulation. Let's get back to welding.
Here's another view of that angle of the rod and direction of travel. I start off with I'm fairly straight in 90 degrees, and right away I'm doing just a couple degrees push, or maybe it just looks that way, but it's keeping the slag pushed back. Not having any trouble with slag running ahead of my puddle, so it's working out. And again, a lot of that is if you have the heat set within range and your arc length is tight, rod angle can be very forgiving. Let me speed this up a little bit so you can kind of see how my hands collapse on themselves. That works for me to stay steady for a joint like this when I have a place to prop. 1 more bead to go.
Speed of travel for stick welding, it's a fairly slow go. It's slower than, let's say, dual shield flux core or other wire fed processes. It just is what it is. And you want to go slow enough not to leave undercut. So if you're doing a little manipulation, you want to pause at the toes of especially the top of the weld, pause momentarily. I'm not talking about 5 seconds. I'm talking about maybe half a second or a second sometimes. Go slow enough not to leave undercut and go fast enough not to build up too much of a crown on the bead.
For that last bead, I'm really very concerned about undercut, so I'm keeping a real close eye on the top toe of this bead here. Making sure that with every motion of that rod, when I come to the top of the bead, I hold it for just a second. Probably not even a full second, but I pause long enough at the top of the motion to make sure that I don't leave any undercut behind. I made this video really with students in mind, or for that matter anyone who's struggling with 7018 overhead. And I guess one of the main takeaways from this video is maybe try a 332 if you're having trouble with 1/8. It's good to learn 1/8, and 1/8 is completely doable on this thickness, 1/4 inch thickness metal, but a 332 is a little bit easier. And if you're limited on power, like I am, plugged into a 115 volt today, the 332 is kind of the obvious choice. That happens in the field. You may have a generator that just can't put out. You may be limited on a drop cord or things like that. But having some good 332 7018 on hand can help you get the job done. Something I may not have mentioned is this thickness, 1/4 inch, would probably only require a single pass. This is strictly for practice, doing this many passes here. It's strictly to show how to place beads and to get more out of a video and to all learn more.